So after 40 years of being in production, we have the 2025 sixth generation 4Runner upon us, and it's been all the hype, let's be real. People are excited about the styling, the different packages, different models, the new powertrain, all this good stuff. But with all the fancy things and the new tech, it got me thinking, what generation of 4Runner is going to become a classic? So in today's video, I'm going to be arguing why I think the 4th generation 4Runner, or the 2003 to 2009 models, are going to really go up in value, if not hold on to the value that they currently have. So I got 5 main reasons for this, and let's dive into it. All my 4th gen fans, you know that this is going to be the first talking point, but it has to be the 2UZ-FE V8 configuration engine. Now, look, there are plenty of inexpensive versions of the 4th gen 4Runner, but the ones that are going to go up in value and the ones that are going to hold on to their value are going to be the V8 variation that you have throughout all years, especially for the ones that are 2005 to 2009. Now, let me explain. Every generation of the 4Runner, other than the 4th gen with the V8, has always had complaints of it being too underpowered. You can talk about that with the 22RE, you can talk about that with the 3.0 V6 that was in the 2nd gen, you could even talk about that with the 3rd gen that everyone loves and enjoys with the 3.4 liter V6 that came in that engine as well. But the 4.7 liter 2UZ-FE came with 235 horsepower and about 300 foot-pounds of torque for the 03 and 04 years, and 05 to 09 introduced variable valve timing, which increased the horsepower to 270 and the foot-pounds of torque to about 330, give or take, which is nothing staggering. It's not going to be a total powerhouse, but I gotta say, from having one for the last 5 years, I never feel like this thing can't pass people on the freeway or just cruise along. And I've taken this thing all the way from California to New Jersey, and then from New Jersey I towed everything back 3 years later with it having over 150,000 miles in the odometer, and this thing just did not break a sweat. The V8 configuration is the one that you want to have in this generation, and that's the one that's going to go up in value because it's the most unique configuration out there for a consistent issue and pain point that people complain about with the 4Runner. This engine, guys, you could really just talk about it in a whole video in itself, but the cherry on top that I'll leave you with is that this thing is also dead reliable. It's a variation and evolution of the 1UZ-FE that is in the Lexus LS400 and regarded as the quote-unquote million-mile engine. And including that, there's a bunch of different threads, forums, whatever you want to find. It's super easy to see plenty of examples reaching over 500,000 miles, which is absolutely insane as I creep up on 200K. Now, this next point might be a little bit more controversial, but I think the majority of people are going to agree with me on this. There is a period of time, what we call the golden era, if you will, of Toyota. And that's in reference to the late 90s, early to mid-ish 2000s era of Toyota, where it had enough tech, but it was nothing overwhelming or excessive. It was just the bare bones stuff that you need. So no, it's not going to have a 360 camera or speakers that are built into the seats or anything crazy and unnecessary that people keep throwing into cars nowadays. It's very straightforward, just like how most 4Runner people want it to be. And the other really nice part of this golden era of Toyota is that it's before any period of time where they started skimping out on parts, where materials were still built incredibly well and the cars can just last, again, a very long time. These are super reliable and of the most reliable in the bunch compared to all the other generations. Now, point number 3 is going to be much more of an obvious reason as to why these are going to go up in value, which is the amount of sales that were had in this generation. So we had about almost 15 years of the 5th gen 4Runner. There's a plethora of them. You could have a 2010 all the way to a 2024. So as you can imagine, there's going to be a lot of those available in the marketplace. We only had the 4th gen 4Runner from 2003 to 2009, and leading up to the global recession that we had in the 2008 and 2009 era, you can see this in the sales. It's very dramatic how hard things took a complete nosedive in terms of sales for big SUVs that had V8s that were not good on gas. You can almost compare this to the 60s era of cars, where we had 7-liter V8 configurations from GM doing 150 horsepower, But then in comes the 1970s with the gas crisis. So similar principle stands. The amount that were sold within this generation is not a lot. And so due to the lack of supply, it's naturally going to push up the value of all the special configurations like the 4x4 V8s and stuff like that. So my last 2 points, 4 and 5, they're going to kind of coincide each other, and I'll explain what I mean by it. So number 4 is going to be the off-road capability of this vehicle. Throttle House did an amazing comparison of what was the brand new 2020 TRD Pro compared to a 4th gen V8. And throughout the testing of driving it through a Canadian winter with ice, water, mud, dirt, a bunch of different terrains that most people aren't even going to hit in this vehicle, the 4th gen did totally fine, and it did it fine at a fraction of the cost. So number 5 goes into the value that you get with this rig. Now, if you are looking for one of these 4Runners and you want to have the V8 and you want to have 4x4 and you want to have it completely specced out, even if you pay $18,000 for said vehicle, people might think you're crazy for spending that much money on that old of a car, but I think you're crazy for wanting to spend 40 and change, 50, 60 plus $1,000 on a brand new 4Runner. That's how much people are going to pay for this, and that's not including the dealer markups that people are inevitably going to put on the packaged out ones like the Trail Hunter and the TRD Pro. So it goes back to my point. You have the simplicity of this car. You're not subject to all these mini packages and add-ons to it that are really just a bunch of BS that you don't really need. This thing is going to get you from point A to point B just as good as the new one would. It might do it a little bit louder. It might have less tech, but that's not why you bought the 4Runner. So that's what I'm going to leave you guys with. What do you think is going to happen to the prior generation 4Runners? Do you think I'm wrong for calling out the 4th gen as being the future collector's item? This is a generation that has some love online, but it really doesn't get anywhere near the love that it should for what you get in the package, and how much you have to pay to even get into one right now, I think is a bargain compared to what you have to pay to get in a new one today. Let me know what you guys think, if I'm crazy or if the 6th gen is going to be the new hype and the best thing since sliced bread. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next one.